thing on.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Cut. I'm your host, Christian Williams, and I am here, as always, with Randy Hall. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing good. Finally got new Xbox and up and running after 2 weeks of trying to get my sign in with Xbox. But
Yeah,
fun, completely different game of Madden than on Xbox One. So
Yes.
me and Christian are dabbling, and I'm dabbling. Christian's waiting in the off season.
Listen, we should give context to that because I started as the Packers, and their season is trash already. I had to
I
win
started
out.
as the Raiders. So
Yeah, they have a better shot, though. They have a better shot. In real life, too, which is a nice little lead-in as we talk about Week 14 of the NFL. There was some NFL news this week, though. It's some notable stuff that we need to talk about. So let's start with the Titans firing John Robinson, their general manager. Very strange timing for this to happen, but a very clear indication that the I would call it mediocrity that they've had. I mean, they've had some success, but there was a very clear ceiling on this team. That wasn't good enough for the owner. And so now is probably the best time to do this. It's before the draft, it's after the trade deadline. They gave him kind of his shot this season, and now they can start their search for another general manager and put them in place before the 2023 draft. Randy, what did you think of this? I know our initial reaction wasn't quite that. It was more like, what happened?
Yeah, well, because anytime there's something like this with a good team, they're not a great team, but they're a good team. They're usually top of their division, first round bye in playoffs. Like, this is a good team. It's well coached, and I think it's a little bit of a divide in management here when they're starting to realize that this is happening because of Vrabel and because of the schemes, and not because of the players necessarily being put into place by this GM. Obviously, Derrick Henry basically runs his team, but besides that, I mean, defensive line, they've made some great selections and some great additions in free agency, but that's his bread and butter at this point. That's it. The rest of the draft's not spectacular. And then it seemed this offseason during the draft, it was a big rift on keeping or trading A.J. Brown away, and it seems the coaching staff and the players were assuming that A.J. Brown was returning, and we saw that reaction during the draft from Vrabel sitting right next to Robinson and just utterly upset and trying to keep his cool because he knows he's on camera. And it was definitely a reaction that you could tell that wasn't what he thought was happening. So I think there's some miscommunication, and it's not working well there. And I don't think like I said, I don't think there's a great lineage of draft picks there to help back up his side of things.
No, I mean, he's missed on a lot of picks. I think, the Bud Dupree signing, we all said, well, that's a good signing, but that's a lot of money for a guy that, he had put a couple nice seasons together, but he struggled with health. And then he gets to Tennessee and he struggles with health. And it's just, I don't think he effectively managed risk and reward. And I think there's probably a misalignment on what the team plans to do moving forward. And I think a lot of that might boil down to Ryan Tannehill because they do have an out. And I think that Vrabel knows that they can't win a Super Bowl this way. And I'm sure he voiced that after the A.J. Brown trade. And I think it festered for about 13 weeks, 6 months pretty much since the last draft, or since the draft night when that happened. And so I don't know, it's a strange situation, but also, like I said, I think it's good timing because I think that they can put someone in place that does align with Vrabel. What I hope doesn't happen is I hope they don't give Vrabel that head coach, general manager, like dual title.
I'm not sure he wants that either. Like
No,
I understand he's not even really from the Bill coaching tree, but he is because he was kind of a coach of the defense while he played there. But I still don't think it's really what he would do. I mean, input in decisions, yeah, but every NFL head coach should have that.
right.
Maybe not the final stamp, but you should have a voice in the room for sure. I do think there's some. Correct me if I'm wrong, but how it's all gone so far with Malik Willis, I'm not 100% sure Vrabel wanted him. Um, it doesn't seem like the kind of quarterback like style that fits his offense either, really. So, and he's definitely coaching him. There's no like ill will there or anything. He's doing the best of his ability. He's trying to develop the parts of his game and keep the other parts safe as he's keeping him healthy without running at different times, when he's had to play. And he's trying to keep him in the pocket so he can actually grow. So I think there's good coaching there, but I just don't think it's the future. And I don't think Vrabel wants that to be, his reason he gets fired, basically, because that's your stake there.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ambiguity about what that quarterback room looks like next year, though, because I do think that while Vrabel might just keep or want to keep Tannehill for another year and say, okay, let's figure this out the right way, I think there's also a little bit of pressure that Vrabel has put together a lot of winning seasons and he can't get over the hump, and I don't know that he will get over the hump with Tannehill at the helm, unfortunately, because I think he's a very average to above average quarterback depending on the week, and I don't think that that's what Vrabel wants, and I think he understands we saw it, right? I mean, this Philadelphia game was kind of what pushed it over the edge, and Jalen Hurts is playing at an MVP level, and I think it's on some level you say we don't have that, and we can't be that. We physically cannot be that. It's impossible. So, just an interesting move. I think I'm excited to see how they draft now or who they hired, so we can talk about how they draft. But yeah. So, next piece of news. Baker Mayfield got waived from the Carolina Panthers. A lot of rumors about the 49ers picking him up, but a lot of people overlooked that the Los Angeles Rams were ahead of the 49ers in waiver priority, and so they need a quarterback actually more than the 49ers, I would argue. And so they picked him up, and there's a chance that Baker Mayfield plays this week, despite getting the playbook 2 days ago. What are your thoughts on this? A lot of people have been speculating that Stafford's retiring now and this is like a tryout period. Are you in on that conspiracy?
Yeah, so I'm not sure it's really a conspiracy.
Yeah, fair.
So Stafford's had a lot of injury issues and he's had a lot of back injury issues, and he's basically broken his back. And now he's got spinal cord contusion, and listening to former players on this kind of thing, he either needs like major back surgery or major neck surgery because he's got, disc or vertebrae, pushing on the spinal cord at this point. So this is obviously, he clearly couldn't play with this, and he can't play with this unless it's fixed. It's not something that's necessarily career ending. I mean, other sports we've seen stuff like this, and it's a position that doesn't necessarily get hit every play or anything. So he definitely could still be good, but he has to do something with this. I don't think a doctor is going to be happy to clear him if he's refusing, if he just wants to sit and wait on it kind of thing. Right. I think invasive surgery of trying to fix this is the only way he gets back in a prompt manner, I guess, to play next year. So that's where the concern goes. And at a certain point for Stafford, do you want to go to surgery right now? And then even if you do surgery, if it's depending on the severity, it's not guaranteed you could play anyways. That's the real scary part. So if you're the Rams and you've kind of mortgaged your future on him and on a Super Bowl that you won, which is more than most people can say, so you did your job. You do have to start looking at the future, and you can't look at the future with the draft because they do not have draft picks. They do not have cap. So, and let's be honest, the second Aaron Donald retires and the second Stafford retires, McVay's gone. So let's just be plain and blunt about this. I think it is a little bit of a tryout for Baker as more of a cheap alternative than a third round draft pick, that won't do anything for him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I just don't know how fair it is to make this the tryout and toss him out there in the middle of the like, I think they'd
Yeah,
want to
I don't
keep
think
him.
he plays this week, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, now, if he's suited up, I think that's fair as like the backup in the emergency situation. But I don't think he plays this week simply because he's not going to know the plays. It's just not really fair.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely gonna be the backup at the very least. Wofford's hurt as well. Bryce Perkins is probably gonna start in this game. I would say
So
so.
bad.
Yeah, and that's the reason. Like I tweeted out the day of. I said I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams pick up Baker Mayfield, and then 3 hours later, they claimed him, which it was kind of we should have seen that coming. I think,
Yeah,
but
I did not. Well, and at that point, we didn't really get the update on Stafford, and I also didn't realize that Wolford was hurt. So,
yeah,
once I looked back at it, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes much more sense than to be the 49ers backup, because
yeah,
I think that was an
yeah.
alternative.
I will say too, as bad as Baker has been over the last 2 years, he's better than Bryce Perkins and John Wolford. I mean,
Yes.
so
Unfortunately, we said the same thing about PJ Walker and Sam Darnold, and that didn't work well either. So.
It didn't, but I would also argue that yeah, I have arguments on it, but I don't feel like talking about him. I guess
he's going to be bad, and
for
this
sure.
line's terrible. He's got no weapons. He's going to be bad.
He will.
So it's a little bit rude as well, but it's an option.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, Raiders versus Rams on Thursday. Raiders 5-7, 6-point favorites. Rams 3-9, over under 44. We already talked about Stafford. He's done for the year. Let's be completely honest here.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald's ruled out for this game as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. We don't need to talk about this game a whole lot. I don't think, honestly, because of those things. The line right now, like you said, 6 points. That was before Aaron Donald was ruled out. I would assume that it's swinging back over into Vegas's favor even more. Josh Jacobs is going to do a number to this Rams defense. I think it doesn't. I made an argument against him a couple weeks ago, and it was. I mean, it doesn't matter who they're playing. Josh Jacobs is getting his. He looks like one of the best running backs in the league. And so last week, 26 carries, 144 yards, and a touchdown. And then Davante Adams did Davante Adams things. Just an incredible catch that didn't count. Absolutely absurd catch.
So I put in here. So Carr was 16 of 30 for 250, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Adams was 8 for 177 and 2. So he had half of Carr's completions, 70% of his yards, and 100% of his touchdowns. That's a target share right there.
Sure is. This goes back to the Fresno State days, and this is what we expected from Adams for the whole year. And he hasn't disappointed. I will say, like, there have been weeks that he's disappointed, but Davante Adams does that throughout every year. So, I expect. Are you nervous about the Ramsey matchup?
Yeah. So I don't expect this, but I do expect 6+ catches and close to 100 yards and possibly a touchdown. So clearly startable this week, no question there. But it is probably the toughest matchup he's had all year. With probably the closest being Surtain.
I would say Surtain's better. Personally, Ramsey's gotten cooked a little bit over the last few. I think Ramsey definitely succeeds when the Rams pass rush lands. I think that's where he's really, really good. And they just, without Aaron Donald, I don't know that happens. And I think he might get cooked a little bit in this game, which if there's one guy that can definitely cook him, it's Davante Adams. I'm taking the Raiders here to cover, and then I'll take the under because I don't think the Rams are putting up like any points.
All right, I'll do the same, even though the last 3 weeks tells me I should pick the Rams.
Yeah. Are you potentially playing Cam Akers this week though? So Cam Akers last week, 17 carries, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's in a neutral game script with
right.
Wolford at quarterback. That's the thing. The week before when it was Perkins, I think he got in the end zone, but it was still a really bad day. And Connor Williams had more snaps and target share. It was Kyron barely did anything this week, so it's a little bit different, but it keeps changing. And if it's going to be a close game, I think Akers is a playable asset. If not, I'm scared. I mean, he got what, 2 yards roughly a carry here, like close to 3.
3 yards a carry.
Yeah, it's not great still.
Yeah, it's not good. I wouldn't play him in this matchup personally, especially when. Yeah, well, you might have to. There are 6 teams on bye. We didn't lead off. So this week is another like bye-pocalypse. The Chicago Bears, Indianapolis Colts, Washington Commanders, Atlanta Falcons, Green Bay Packers, and New Orleans Saints are all on bye week. So that's a lot of fantasy performances just from last week that you're missing out on. So you may have to start Akers. I would probably start Kyron Williams over him this week, though, personally. So
sure.
All right, next game, a little better, still not great. The 11-1 Eagles are 7-point favorites against the New York Giants, who are 7-4-1 after their 0-0 tie, pretty much, in last week against Washington. Over under in this game is 45.5. The Eagles were dominant last week. Jalen Hurts at halftime had 280-ish passing yards. I don't know the exact clip off the top of my head. Finished 29 of 39 for 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 carries for 12 yards, and a touchdown. We talked about, people calling him a running back and asking if he's actually playing quarterback. I think maybe he saw the tweet because they definitely just were very actively throwing the hell out of the ball. The Titans, good against the run, so.
Yeah, the best against the run, and second best against the run was the Commanders, and they tried to go against the grain there and kind of pounded down Commanders' throats there, and that didn't work. And what do we say about the stretch of that game? Whatever. But I think if they were trying to air it out more, I think they win that game pretty handily. So they did that this week, and it worked.
Yep.
I don't know if that continues. I'm not going to say that for this week.
I think it does. I think the Giants are effective against the run, but I don't know that it's this level of air raid comparative. Like I think Hurts is still going to get his, but I think they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground a little bit better. You wrote in here that the Giants tied the Commanders, which makes a ton of sense. You're right. That is the outcome that we should have expected. Daniel Jones, 25 of 31, 200 yards and a touchdown. I want to reiterate, he had 12 carries for 71 yards. I want to reiterate that like Daniel Jones is playing fine, but he's not playing well. You'll look at the completion percentage and you'll be like, wow, he was so efficient. Figure out the yards per attempt on that because it's bad. I'll do the math really quick. I should be able to do it in my head. 6.4 yards per attempt, just not ideal. It's not. It's a very safe passing attack, and I know the Giants don't have a ton of pass catchers, but Saquon Barkley last week, 18 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown, 5 catches for 18 yards. Darius Slayton, 6 catches for 90 yards. Are you interested in anyone other than Saquon on that side of the ball?
Slayton would be it, and simply because he keeps doing this. He keeps just making a big play. And that's probably the only way you're really going to do anything against this Eagles passing defense. So, we'll see, though.
I think that's fair. On the other side, play all your Eagles that you normally would play, and Devontae Smith included.
Since Dallas Goedert's been out, Devontae Smith has rightfully garnered more of target share. He's been a little bit more consistent. I think you're a little bit more safer with Sanders this week. I know he got slightly banged up last week, but all sides point to good. So,
yeah, for sure. I'm going to take the Eagles and the over in this game.
Yeah, I'll take the Eagles, the points of the over as well. I think it'll be close throughout, but the Eagles will go up late, up 10.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good first half. I think the Eagles pull away in the second half. Next game, 4-8 Jaguars taking on the 7-5 Titans. The Titans are 3.5-point favorites in this game, and the over-under is 42. Treylon Burks has a concussion, pretty much already ruled out. almost actually every single player that's been ruled out with a concussion has missed the following week and stayed in the concussion protocol. There hasn't been someone that has gotten out of it within that first week as part of the new concussion protocol. So we can kind of come to expect that. Trevor Lawrence has a foot injury. Day to day, probably going to play in this game. It looked way worse than that, though. I thought Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence tore his knee up. I thought he was done. So I don't know what that kid is eating, but keep eating that, young blood, because you probably should have had your entire knee torn up. Other than that, Trevor Lawrence was bad last week once again. 17 of 31 for 179 yards and a touchdown, and 4 carries for 32 yards.
Glad you're walking. You're shit though.
Yeah, he was bad before the injury, and
He actually came back and had like 2 or 3 pretty good runs, which makes no sense. But
yeah, I don't get. I mean, adrenaline and maybe painkillers at halftime, but
why was he running? Is more of my point.
Yeah, pretty wild. But before the injury, he did not look very good, and everyone was saying, just when we got a Trevor Lawrence breakout performance and he's playing the best he's ever played. No, he wasn't. He kind of reverted back to the old Trevor Lawrence in that first half. So I don't know. I thought that his performance the week before was going to launch him into like consistent play, good play every single week. I do want to mention his receivers dropped a hell of a lot of balls in this game. Zay Jones dropped a very key third down ball that kind of changed the dynamic of the game. So I don't know. And the good thing is Trevor Lawrence has a pretty good ability to bounce back against the Titans, who we just talked about got torched by the Eagles this last week through the air. You wrote in here, Chig Okonkwo is the only guy to talk about. He 4 catches, 68 yards. That dude is a beast after the catch. I think he's probably a borderline dynasty tight end 1 at this point, because where the hell else are you? Well, hey man, where the hell else are you going with it? Like at the back end, who cares?
I got some other people I like, but
that's fair.
I get it.
Yeah,
but he, is the guy that we kind of gravitated towards late in the process as well. Thankfully, right before the combine, which helped out everyone else from seeing him. But he's an athletic freak. He's amazing after the catch, and that has continued into the NFL. I don't know. He's still not a very consistent, blocker. So I think he's a phenomenal tight end too as a weapon right now, and I think he has room to grow. So in that regard, I do think he has a valuable upside. In Dynasty, having him on your roster, hoping to see what happens as your like 3rd or 4th tight end is a good thing. But the whole team was real bad this week. Tannehill was bad. They couldn't. I will say Treylon Burks looked good to start. Had a catch for a touchdown. That got a concussion. But Derrick Henry couldn't do anything. Like, they couldn't move the ball, plain and simple. So, yeah.
Jaguars are a much easier matchup. I would be interested in this Nick Westbrook-Ikhine this week. I think that he's going to get more of a share with Burks out, personally. So
that's fair. We, even with Burks out, we didn't really see, even floor games from Robert Woods. So I think there's a little bit of dust there. So yeah, that'd be the only one I'd be okay with. I think Chig is a pretty good shout, though. Chig Okonkwo, especially in DFS. I'm sure he's got to be 3,100, 2,600. So
yeah, he's a good play this week, I think. I think he gets an increased target share as well. I'm gonna take the Titans to bounce back here, and I'm gonna take the under.
Same, exactly the same.
Okay, cool. Next game, 5-7 Browns taking on the 8-4 Bengals. Bengals are 6-point favorites, and the over/under is 47. Hayden Hurst is doubtful to play in this game. David Bell has a hand injury. Miles Garrett is now questionable for this game. The same day a day after Joe Burrow was asked, is there something different about? Do they do anything different in Cleveland? Why can't you beat them, essentially? And he said, they have Miles Garrett. That's what's different. There aren't too many people like Miles Garrett. So we'll see if he plays.
He's right.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson did not have a good first performance. 12 of 22, 131 yards, 7 carries for 21 yards. The option play was very much in play. The read option, RPO stuff was there as well. Interesting dynamic to the Browns offense. I mean, Watson definitely said he said he felt all 700 days he was away from football. I'm slightly concerned that he might not be as dominant. I read an article. I think it's worth noting that when he was dominating in football, the entire complexity of NFL defenses was different. All the coverages that are consistently run were very different. I'm curious to see how long he stays in the slump because I don't know that that's going to change this week against the Bengals. I think he's going to struggle again.
So it's really hard not to go with puns here. So I think will continue to look a little bit rough. Damn, I'm trying, man. There's so many that could go so many different ways there. Unfortunately, and I feel like that's always going to be an issue with this team now.
Forever.
He has not looked good. He didn't look good in the preseason. He hasn't looked good in training camps and practices we've seen. And I don't think it's necessarily reading coverages. I think he literally is a guy that hasn't played at an NFL level in over 2 years now, and there's always going to be a lot of rust with something like that. I mean, just plain and simple. I don't think it's like he hasn't been working out with trainers or working out with QB coaches or stuff like that. I think he's been putting in work, but there's completely difference between throwing at targets and playing in a game. So I think we're going to get this for most of the rest of this year, if not the rest of it. I think there could be improvements for sure, but I don't think you're seeing MVP contention Watson for the rest of the year.
No.
Can it be next year? Yes, but
maybe. There were a lot of times he didn't trust what he was seeing, and it looked like he forgot how to release the freaking football out of his hand. Like he literally threw it into the dirt a few times, and I don't think he meant to. Like I think maybe he meant to because he didn't trust what he was looking at, and that's where like that defense that they run is very similar to what a lot of teams run. So I'm curious is all.
Yeah. It's different to what the Bengals run though. So
true.
We'll see how it goes. And he's got a different kind of mental, warfare out there now. Obviously it's a lot of mental going at this point trying to get back on the field, but the last time he played, he was loved throughout the league. He was one of the future stars of the NFL. He was one of the names. Now that name's been completely tarnished. So
top 3 obviously, names probably. He was up there with Mahomes.
It was him and Mahomes, and Allen honestly wasn't there yet.
So I mean, Brady was still probably there, and Rodgers, like those guys. But like in terms of young quarterbacks coming up,
it was Watson and Mahomes, same draft class. They were the two, and I think we can get back there. If he could continue to get back to that level, but the name. He'll never be looked at like that again, and that's something he's going to get over, on the field. He's
going to have
because I don't think it'll ever be, like it was this week in Houston, but it's never going to be good.
He's going to get booed everywhere he goes.
Yeah, fans will be ruthless. I'm not even sure he gets fully cheers in Cleveland, so it's going to be completely different.
It'll be split.
It's a different aspect, and there's businesses where you get booed and cheered all the time, and sometimes it is split, and people deal with that in different ways and can use it, but it takes a lot. It's not easy, So he might get back physically. I don't know if he can get back mentally on the field though. So it's a completely different thing, and it's something because we never really envisioned when he'd get back. It's something we didn't really dive into, but I think it is a huge aspect of him getting back to at least close to that level he was.
Yeah. On the other side of things, the Bengals are awesome. The Bengals beat the Chiefs last week. They hung on. Burrow is playing at an MVP level right now, 25 of 31, 286 yards and 2 touchdowns. 11 carries, added a touchdown on the ground as well. Samaje Perine is a perfect fit for when Joe Mixon's out. It sounds like Joe Mixon should be back this week.
He's back.
he was in the concussion protocol. He almost got cleared for the game against the Chiefs, but he didn't. Pirine was really good. I think that's done. Jamar Chase, great return. 7 catches, 97 yards. Another crazy catch that didn't count. That was a theme this week. He had a 3-finger catch on the side. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So
quickly
sure.
with Mixon, kind of to go over the concussion protocol again. I'm not sure if it's verbatim said in there, but so far we haven't got someone cleared that hasn't got at least one full day of practice in. And that was seemingly the holdup for Mixon as we were waiting for Friday full practice. We didn't get it, and he was ruled out that afternoon. So I don't know if that's exactly verbatim in the rules, but that's what we've been seeing. So just keep an eye on other people coming back in the next couple of weeks. If they don't practice, by Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday, you got to start looking somewhere else.
Yeah. I do want to say, start all your Bengals. Last week, the Browns defense was fantastic. The Bengals are not the Texans in any way, shape, or form. I think you can start everyone. Now, Tyler Boyd, 4 catches, 60 yards, kind of a low floor or high floor play, low ceiling play. I probably wouldn't start him, and I probably wouldn't start Mitchell Wilcox unless you're in a 32 team IDP Dynasty League in the playoffs. Then maybe I would start Mitchell Wilcox.
It's a completely different story there.
Yeah.
But I think Mixon and Pirine can be valuable this week. The Browns' rush defense still is really bad. Pierce finally looked like a good running back again last week, and heavily attributed to this run defense. So I think it's something to definitely look at for Pirine as a flex this week, as I think Mixon's 100% full go. It won't be any restrictions, but Pirine does mix in regardless. So
yeah, he mixes in with Mixon. I'm taking the Bengals.
Much happier we got those friends in something else.
Yeah, right. Bengals and over in this game.
Yes, same. Well, Bengals and under. With how that offense looked, I'm going Bengals and under.
That's fair. Next one, 7-5 Jets taking on the 9-3 Bills. The Bills are 9.5-point favorites in this game, and the over/under is 44. The Bills have kind of turned it back around. They beat the Patriots. They dominated the last 3 quarters of it. Josh Allen, 22 of 33, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns, 8 carries for 20 yards. Injury is definitely bothering him, and you could kind of tell, but he still performed. James Cook kind of had a breakout type of performance. He's had a couple of those in a row. 14 carries, 64 yards, 6 catches for 41 yards. Devin Singletary was fine too. 13 carries, 51 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs did Stephon Diggs things. 7 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown. On the other side of things, Mike White kind of sucks, guys. But not for fantasy, because he puts up a lot of yards. 31 of 57, 369 yards, 2 picks, and then 3 rushing attempts for 7 yards and a touchdown. That was just heavily debated, and he was very clearly standing in the end zone. I don't know why that took so long on that review. Bam Knight, play him. Play Bam Knight. I know Michael Carter's back this week, but I don't have qualms playing the guy that went 16 for 90 yards and caught 5 balls for 28 yards. I think he's going to keep a roll.
Yeah, he keeps a roll. I think the issue is I think he can keep 16 carries. I don't know if he can keep 5 catches or even 1 catch. While he is a pretty good receiving back, I mean, there's really no comparison with Michael Carter there. So if he's completely out on third downs and you're playing a good Bills defense who, obviously with injuries and everything else, they're not as good as they once were. So they still can be ran on, they can be thrown on, but it's just tough. You're probably going to need a touchdown from him to be fully relevant, but he is a pretty good flex play this week, I'd say.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention Von Miller's done for the year.
Yeah.
They did exploratory surgery and they found a torn ACL. So I would have declined that surgery had I been Von Miller, and I would have said, don't explore my knee. I was told I can come back in a week, but they put me on IR anyway. So, but good. I'm glad they got it fixed up. Hopefully he's back next year.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be. It's for everything we're hearing from him.
Yeah, for sure. Garrett Wilson was fantastic again. I think you play Garrett Wilson regardless of matchup from this point forward. Corey Davis's return was good, 10 targets, 5 catches, 85 yards, and a massive, massive catch on a ballsy throw from Mike White. I will give him credit. Like, he might not be the best quarterback in the world, but he is a smart football player, and I think he has some balls out there. So,
Yeah. And this is clearly what their vision of this offense is, because we've seen this now with Flacco as well, to where they are throwing and getting 300 plus yards and still running well. But when we get to Zach Wilson, it's very time consuming. Just run the ball, dink and dunk. So
yeah.
I think Zach Wilson's days are done, and I think we're going to get a more prolific passing quarterback in the system next year. I'm not quite sure who it is, but
It's
even
Jimmy
if it is Jimmy G, it is a massive upgrade.
Massive. Oh my God, yeah, massive. Even from Mike White. I mean,
Yes.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. He gets a lot of hate. He's a good quarterback.
Yes. But I will say Brock Purdy did basically what Jimmy G does. So system.
I know. There have been some stories about Brock Purdy that kind of blowing my mind how like assertive he is in the huddle and stuff. I don't get it. You went to Iowa State, dude, and you sucked there. He was bad. You shouldn't have been drafted.
It's real bad.
But I'm taking
drafted.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking the Jets to cover in this game. But I think the Bills win, and I think we hit the over still.
Yeah, I'll take Bills over Jets cover, just because even if the Bills are up 2 scores, Mike White's throwing, and he'll probably get them back.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it as well. Next game used to be a good game, but now the Steelers suck. 8-4 Ravens playing the 5-7 Steelers, who are 3-point favorites in this game, and the over/under is 37. The reason that the Steelers are favored in this game is because Lamar Jackson is out, not officially yet, but
I'd
he's
say
not
he's
playing
out
this week.
at least this week. They said it's basically like a 1 to 3, 1 to 4 week injury. I think that is a 1 week injury for sure. Mainly because at this point, this is the division leader. This is a playoff team. And I think they could beat the Steelers with Tyler Huntley.
Easy.
Other games, I'm not quite sure, but they can beat the Steelers.
Yeah. So Tyler Huntley came in 27 of 32 for 187 yards and a pick, 10 rushes for 41 yards and a touchdown. The great thing about Tyler Huntley is they run the same offense that they do with Lamar Jackson, and it works.
He's the backup.
Exactly. Smart stuff right there. Mark Andrews, fine. Demarcus Robinson, 7 catches, 41 yards. And then on the other side, the Steelers won last week, basically on the back of Marcus Mariota being terrible. Kenny Pickett, 16 of 28, 197 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris looks like himself and has for the last few weeks. The overreactions to Najee Harris. Saw people, we've talked about this, I think, on this show, but they were voting on a poll, Najee Harris or Rachaad White, and people were voting for Rachaad White. That's ridiculous. Take it back. Undo that vote. It's still Najee Harris.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about early in the season his Liz Frank injury. While it was minor, it was clearly affecting him. Was affecting his judgment, and I still think he is second guessing moves out there. You can see him kind of stomping his feet in a spot for a couple seconds, and that's not necessarily Najee's game. I think we're still getting there, but he's looking healthier. So this line still's dog shit, but he's looking healthier.
Yeah, real bad. To the point that I'm not super interested in any of the pass catchers in this game specifically.
Yeah, I'd rather play Rachaad White.
Yeah, for sure. George Pickens, the story here is George Pickens is mad about his target share. That's ridiculous. That's why teams didn't draft him. That's why teams didn't draft him.
He had 1 half with 1 catch and 1 target, and he threw a fit. And he hasn't earned that.
No,
I know Deontay, had a dust up in the locker room with Trubisky, after multiple games, and he's this team's alpha for a reason. I think he earned that. Pickens has not earned that, and I'm not. The character concerns are one thing, but I think you had to earn that type of thing in this NFL because wide receivers do that, plain and simple. But like Thielen did that a couple of years ago with Kirk. Thielen's fucking earned that with Kirk.
Right. Well, and the other piece of this is I would also be mad if Kenny Pickett was my quarterback and I was a wide receiver for
Yeah.
that team.
Oh,
So
I mean, look
I'm
at
sure.
Deontay. This is
Yeah.
Deontay's stat line every week. 5
Yeah.
out of 11 for 60, and
Yeah.
at least 5 of those were not catchable.
Yeah. One was a drop, though. A really pretty bad drop.
He's going to have one a week.
Yeah.
I love the guy. He's going to have one a week.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm taking the Ravens to win this game, and I'm taking the under because I mean 37 is not a lot, but like
Pickett makes a mistake to cost him.
Yeah, 17-10 is my prediction.
TJ Watt, 2 sacks.
Yep. Next game, we're gonna not talk about. The Texans are 1-10-1 at this point, and they are headed for Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, or Anthony Richardson, or Will Levis. Who knows? But a quarterback for sure. Taking on the 9-3 Dallas Cowboys, who just dropped a 50 burger on Sunday Night Football, right? Sunday night, Monday night, one of those nights. The Cowboys are 16.5-point favorites, which does make this kind of interesting to pick because that's a big, big line. I think one of the biggest that we've seen all year, the biggest that we've seen all year. Over under is 44.5.
That being said, I'm taking the Cowboys, the points, and the over by themselves.
Yeah, close. I would say by themselves, but I'm not 100% confident in that. I'm taking the Cowboys. I'm taking the points, and I'm taking the over for sure. I will say the Texans' run defense has looked better. I know Chubb had a good day last week. Kareem Hunt had they had a fine performance. That's also the Browns, and that's a really good rushing attack. The Cowboys have that, but I also think this is a perfect game to really get Michael Gallup involved, really kind of use those tight ends. I feel like it's not going to be as much Pollard and Zeke kind of just pounding the rock personally. But
well, in that scenario, that's worse for Pollard. If we're going to be honest, because Zeke's getting 20 touches.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
It's plain and simple. So that's, but Pollard is a little bit more of a gadget receiver as well. So here or there, but we know Lamb will be fine. I think I agree that Schultz he's locked in as your starter. And Gallup should have a decent day. But I do think both running backs are definitely playable. The concern with the Cowboys here as a fantasy, playoff, contending look would be the Dolphins a couple weeks ago. Go up 30-0.5, everyone sits.
Yep.
That's our concern here. And that's why the line's so big is because the Cowboys kind of piled it on this last week, even late. They keep piling on even with backups in the last drive. They piled it on. So we'll see. But I do think it should be a decent day. I think Dak can at least give you this, 170-3, like make that 250-2. It's basically the same thing,
Yeah, I think so. I don't have much to say about the Texans. I wouldn't play anyone on the Texans side at all.
Yeah, because their best players, Pierce, and the Cowboys' run defense has been really solid. The pass defense has been good. So Nico Collins, no. Brandon Cooks is playing. Maybe Nico is okay. I'm just not touching it.
Yeah, me neither. All right, next game then. 10-2 Vikings are taking on the 5-7 Lions, and the Lions are favored in this game, and that's the craziest part. Lions are 1.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 53. The Vikings held on to beat the Jets. I wouldn't say they handedly beat them at any point, but they definitely let the Jets back into the game. Kirk Cousins has been pretty bad this year, honestly. Like, there have been a lot of bad performances from Kirk. 21 of 35, 173 and a touchdown. Dalvin Cook got it going. 20 carries, 86 yards and a touchdown. Alexander Madison took one of the touchdowns as well. Justin Jefferson had a fine, okay day, but with Kirk struggling, it's tough. And then on the other side of things, the Lions offense is one of my favorites to watch in the NFL. It's just everyone got going in this game. And I don't even know what they won by, but it was a lot against the Jaguars. They started to pour it on at the end as well, which is smart.
Like 40-10, I want to say.
Yeah, it was something insane. Jamison Williams, I think, will be a larger piece of the puzzle this week. He definitely was not. He got one target. I think they're going to incorporate him slowly because DJ Chark was great last week. 5 catches, 98 yards. DJ Chark is looking like a guy that they might want to bring back next year because they do have some cap room, and they might be running it back with this squad, add in just defensive players with those draft picks, and the Lions are a playoff team. Might be a playoff team this year. They could win out.
I don't know about all that, but yeah, I definitely think James Williams is a slow burn here. I think he might be a playoff piece for you, but I don't think it's a lot this week. We saw what they did with Swift. They made him be 100% before they let him do anything, and I think he's there or really close right now. So I think we're going to see the same thing there. So I'm not playing him, but he could have a big play. I just don't think he has a big day. That's kind of the way you have to put that one.
You playing Chark?
Maybe in DFS, I'd be scared. He's along the lines of Slayton for me.
Yeah,
it's like you're hoping for one big catch to really kind of give you the day.
Amon-Ra is going to be the overall wide receiver one this week. I will say that. I think that
probably.
Yeah, I mean he had to be close last week. 11 catches, 114 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Had to put him up there, but
yeah.
I'm taking the Lions to win this game, and I'm taking the over of 53.
I'm going to take the Vikings in the over.
Okay, that's fair. All right, next one. 9-3 Chiefs are 9-point favorites against the 3-9 Broncos. Over-under is 43.5. The Broncos suck. Cortland Sutton is not playing this week. The Broncos couldn't beat the Ravens, and Lamar went out fairly early in that. It was, I believe, the first quarter, second quarter,
second drive. What okay. Are the two?
Yeah. Russell Wilson, 17 of 22, 189 yards. Latavius Murray, 17 carries for 47 yards, just atrocious. Greg Dulcich is the only guy that actually had a decent performance, and that's just because of the tight end landscape. 6 catches, 85 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 4 catches, 65 yards. Not much to say there. I played Dulcich this week, personally, again.
Yeah, I think Judy's playable at a flex, but just simply because the Chiefs are going to score 50. The Chiefs are going to score 30. I got a Broncos defense. I'll give them respect, but I think Wilson's throwing more than 22 times. I think is my point there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would put him in the same bucket as Slayton and Chark though this week.
Yes and no. It's because it's different. Jeudy can make the big plays, but that's just not as.
No, I just meant like
being played. I know what you're.
Yeah, like in like
it's a different
flex worthy.
Yeah, bucket. You're not expecting one big play. You're expecting 6 catches to keep him through the game.
Yeah. Other side of things, Patrick Mahomes was fine. 16 of 27, 223 yards on a touchdown. Kind of a uniquely bad performance. I think Joe Burrow has Patrick Mahomes' number a little bit. I don't know what it is. Burrow plays very, very well against them, and Mahomes struggles against the Bengals. You saw it last year in the playoffs.
Baker can't lose to the Bengals, so I don't know what the hell's going on, man.
It's super strange. Isaiah Pacheco, 14 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Jerick McKinnon, 8 carries for 51 yards, definitely more efficient, caught a touchdown as well. Pass catchers didn't do much, including Travis Kelce. This was a strange game for the Chiefs offense. I saw some I said maybe Sky Moore last week, maybe Sky Moore this week for the fact that Patrick Surtain is going to not take away Sky Moore. He's just not going to be on Sky Moore. So I
don't think he's going to be on anyone. I think he's going to be
just
on the side.
If they're smart, they put him on Kelce and just let him pull a Ramsey. Yeah, they've got dudes, man. The Broncos defense has dudes, and it doesn't matter. I'm taking the Chiefs and the under.
Well, Chiefs in the over. Barely.
Yeah. It's tough.
It's close.
I think this is a 28-7 game. Probably. That's my guess. 28.
I mean, in fairness, the Broncos they've scored like over 18 once this year. So
they're
you're
yeah.
expecting 14, 13 from them at
maybe.
most. I mean, the line looks like it's supposed to be 30 to 14. Obviously it's not with the -9, but you get my draft.
Yeah, something like that. So, Chiefs are winning though. I don't see a world in which the Broncos win. I also think Nathaniel Hackett could be fired after this one.
At this point, if Mahomes got hurt, I think the Broncos still would win.
Yeah, true. Very true. Next game, 6-6 Bucks taking on the 8-4 49ers. 49ers are 3.5-point favorites in this game, and the over-under is 37.5. Brock Purdy will be starting this game. Jimmy Garoppolo broke his foot last week on the first drive, I believe. He's done for the regular season. It looks like he doesn't need surgery and will be back for the playoffs. Could be back for the playoffs.
I think it's like 7 weeks, roughly 8 weeks, and playoff starts in 5 weeks.
So we'll see how that goes. The 49ers they put Tua in hell with their defense. Tua looked atrocious last week. And so Brock Purdy, 25 of 37, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But he was very effective in running the offense. Like I said, there have been some stories about how he's commanding the offense, how he commands a huddle. I think they actually believe in Brock Purdy to kind of lead them to this division title. And everyone did fine. No one there was no fantasy performance that wasn't good because Brock Purdy was in. So I don't know does that repeat against the Bucks though? That's
that's a concern because this Bucks defense looked real good last week. Again, Saints offense looked atrocious.
Is Andy Dalton better than Brock Purdy though?
Yes. Simply because we have one game of Brock Purdy.
Yeah, that's fair. My answer is maybe.
Simply because of that.
We have no
Out of respect of the Red Rocket, I have to say yes.
Christian McCaffrey is dominant, by the way. 17 carries, 66 yards, 8 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. So I think Elijah Mitchell getting hurt definitely helped that out. Jordan Mason was effective on the ground, though, too. So.
Yeah, I think Mason gets 8 to 10, 8 to 12 carries a game just to keep CMC a little bit healthy, and that'll be it. Yeah.
Other side of things, Leonard Fournette kind of mixed in after Rachaad White fumbled the ball, and he did not look good on the ground really at all. But he did look good as a pass catcher and caught the game-winning touchdown, which I think bought him a few more good graces from Tom Brady. That stuff goes a long way with Tom Brady. So I think Rachaad White probably starts again. He started this game. Fournette looked fine, though. 10 carries, 49 yards. He's just a big guy. He's tough to tackle.
Yeah. So they're not going to be able to run this game. Just plain and simple.
True.
So play Rachaad White, play Fournette, play Godwin, play Kate Otten. Brady is going to throw 60 times, 70 times maybe.
Yeah. Probably not 70, but maybe 50.
It's going to be 70 now.
Yeah. Play Mike Evans, too. He's kind of disappointed at times throughout the year, but 4 catches, 59 yards this last week. I think he does have a bounce-back game. 49ers defense is tough, though, so I could see a world in which they throw that many times, and we don't see a ton of good fantasy performances, too. So we'll see. I'm taking... This one's tough for me.
This is not a defense you want Brock Purdy going against right now because they're
not
getting real healthy.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks, and I'm taking the over.
I'm going to take the Bucks and the under.
That's fair. All right, a few more games left. The 4-8 Panthers are taking on the 7-5 Seahawks. Seahawks are 4-point favorites in this game. Over-under is 43.5. Kenneth Walker has not been ruled out technically yet. Doesn't look like he will play. DJ Dallas didn't practice today either. They signed someone to the practice squad. Wayne Gallman. Shout out Wayne Gallman for sticking around.
So their running back room, Kenneth Walker has some ankle injury. It's not even like a sprain or it's a bruised ankle. They really are. Seahawks are hard to trust on stuff like that. So it does seem like DJ Dallas has a high ankle sprain. at least of some severity. Travis Homer was out last week with a knee injury. Tony Jones played and then got hurt. So it's pretty much, I think it's a week where Walker doesn't play and you just don't want any of them.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the Panthers' saving grace this year has been really good defense, really good at stopping the run. So I just don't think you play a Seahawks running back this week and you expect same thing that you saw this last week from the Seahawks passing attack, in which Geno 28 of 39 for 367, 3-1. Lockett 9 catches, 128-1. DK 8 for 127-1. Fant 4 for 42-1. I think you're going to have that same kind of recipe this week.
Yep, and I think it's a successful recipe. The Panthers, we literally don't have anything on here for them except they're coming off a bye, and Deontay Foreman hasn't practiced yet with his foot injury. Obviously, there's no game to talk about this last week. However, there's also no good fantasy players. DJ Moore, I think you play DJ Moore in this game.
I think you play Foreman.
If he plays.
I think he's playing. Is more of my aspect. Okay. So I think you play him because the Seahawks defense has improved, but the run defense still isn't that good, and he has been really dominant against below average run defenses.
Yeah, that's fair. If he plays, I'm in on that. I kind of was assuming that he might be out. Seahawks for sure, and then under.
I'll say Seahawks and under, but it's kind of hard. But I just basically said Geno would have 3 touchdowns. But it could be 21-10, so that's fine.
Yeah, Sam Darnold's starting, by the way, so
it's about the same level with all 3 at this point. So
yeah,
one's left.
Yeah, true. Okay, Sunday Night Football this week. Pretty good game. The Tua versus Herbert Bowl. Emmanuel Acho is going to be fucking unbearable on television this week and on Twitter. So I don't know. Avoid that if you can. That's my advice, unless you like that stuff. But it's terrible. 8-4 Dolphins, 3.5-point favorites on the road against the 6-6 Chargers. The over/under is 52.5. Tua got an ankle injury late in the game. Looks like he's playing this week though. Already talked about how terrible he was last week. And it didn't matter though for Tyreek Hill. 9 catches, 146 yards and a touchdown. Trent Sherfield had the first catch of the game, catch 75 yards and a touchdown, and that was a pretty decent fantasy day for him. Other side of things, Justin Herbert, 28 of 47, 335-1. Austin Eckler, 10 for 35 on the ground, 5 for 67 through the air. Keenan Allen kind of looked like Keenan Allen last week. 6 catches on 14 targets, though. Not great.
And a late touchdown after the Raiders had pretty much already put it away up 14.
Yeah. So, and 88 yards, though, in the game. So, and then Josh Palmer has looked fantastic. However, we were close to getting Mike Williams last week, it sounded like, until late in the week. There's a chance that Mike Williams does come back for this game. This is a pretty big game. The Chargers are in. I mean, this could potentially be a wild card seeding type of matchup when it all shakes out, with the Bills potentially winning that East.
I mean, the Chargers are the 9 seed right now.
I know.
And they just lost to the 10 seed, the Raiders. So it's, I mean, I don't think the Chargers make the play. I don't think the Chargers deserve to make the playoffs.
I don't think they deserve to. I think they still might, because I think Justin Herbert might will them there. However, in this game, I think I'm going to take the Chargers to win. The Dolphins are a good football team, though, and it's very easy to have or just look at what happened last week and be down on them. But I'm still taking the Chargers, and I'm taking the over.
I'm going to take the Dolphins in the over.
Yeah, that's fair. And if Mike Williams doesn't play, you play Josh Palmer. He's in your lineup, especially on by Apocalypse number 2. So, final game of the week is a doozy, I'll tell you. The 6-6 Patriots are 2-point favorites out in Arizona against the 4-8 Cardinals, and the over-under is 44.5. Mac Jones went from looking like the best quarterback in the league on Thanksgiving to Mac Jones again. He looked like Mac Jones last week. 22 of 36, 195 yards and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson, 54 yards on the ground, 6 catches for 24 through the air. Leading receiver was Marcus Jones, who is a cornerback and a punt returner and kick returner. 2 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown. And he's fast, man. He is so fast.
Yep.
Cardinals coming off the bye. Sounds like they'll have their whole slew of wide receivers. Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and Rondale Moore should be in the lineup. I think that could cause the Patriots some problems. But I don't think the Cardinals are very good. So do you play Kyler knowing that Kyler always struggles against good defenses that do confusing things because he's playing video games and stuff? Not really, but like he just tends to struggle in those games. Are you playing Kyler this week?
I think I am. Simply because we've seen a few times this year when it's been, okay, what are the Patriots taking away? And, even with like the Vikings, you can clearly say Justin Jefferson's their best player.
Yep.
Patriots decided we're taking away Cook, we're taking away Hockenson, we're taking away the middle of the field. I think they do the same thing here. This Cardinals team has time and time again shown they want to run the ball with James Conner. That's what they want their bread and butter to be, and then have these 3 wide receivers, playing really well together, which they really haven't had a chance to. So I think they're going to try and lean on the run again. I think the Patriots absolutely shut that down and force Kyler to run around and make some plays. I do think with the full complement of weapons, minus Zach Ertz, that is possible this week. So I think fortunately, I think you're out on James Conner, except hoping he falls in the end zone. I think he is going to have like 15 for 25 and 1 maybe. One of those just terrible games, but he could get 2 touchdowns there and be perfectly fine. Because I do think this offense can move the ball, and there's too many weapons in the passing game for Bill to take away. Like, you could try and take away Hopkins, who is good enough one-on-one to beat you regardless. But then you're leaving, one of the best speed receivers, on one-on-one on the other side. And then you have Rondale Moore as a good gadget player to get anything short and intermediate. I don't think that's a way you could win. If I'm the Patriots, I think you take away the middle of the field and try and, in a sense, take away Rondale Moore there, but take away James Conner and make Kyler have to beat you. So that's why if you think he can get it done, even in the slightest, and you drafted him that highly, I think you have to play him.
Yeah. To be fair, Kyler takes away the middle of the field because he doesn't like to throw the ball there anyway. So
You can't see.
I know. Yeah, he has to throw out to the sides. I'm taking the Patriots in this game, and I'm taking the under.
We take the Cardinals in the over.
Okay, fun. Like that. And that'll do it for the week.
2-minute spiel, man. I have to.
Yeah, I feel like you do. That'll do it for the Week 14 preview. Good luck in your matchups. If your fantasy playoffs start this week, good luck in the playoffs. And if they don't start this week, they start next week, I assume. And I hope that you're not still on a Week 16, 17, 18 playoff schedule. Tell your commissioners to change that if so. Good luck. Let us know if you have any start-sit questions. As always, just shoot me a DM at C Williams NFL. Shoot Randy a DM at R Hall NFL on Twitter. You can also mention us as well. Randy, do you have anything to add before we bounce?
Nope.
All right. Good luck in your matchups. We'll talk to you guys sometime next week. One of the nights we will go live. It might be a little surprise. I don't know. We'll see. But for Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We'll talk to you guys then. Later.